Hey everyone, this is Mark Rudrum from TurboQuale Development Network, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do Hello World in Visual Basic. So in our last tutorial, we downloaded and installed Visual Basic, and today we're going to be creating our first application in it. So once you've got Visual Basic installed, you're going to want to go to Start and All Programs, and you're going to want to find Microsoft Visual Basic 2010. I already have mine, and then you want to pin it. You want to pin it to your taskbar or your start bar, or send a shortcut to your desktop. I already pinned it to my start menu, so I'm going to open it up. When it's open, the first thing you're going to want to do is hit New Project. Can I maximize? No, I can't. And you want to go to Windows Form Application, and you want to name your application. And the reason we went to Windows Forms Application is that we're going to be creating an application with a window like this, and an X, and a menu and buttons, and and I'm going to name my application YouTube tutorial Hello World. I'm gonna click OK, and really quickly I'm gonna see something quickly. I hope you guys don't mind. Oh, never mind, I'll do it later. Okay then, so you should get this. This thing should appear, and I'm just gonna teach you some very basic things we're going to be using in the next few tutorials. And the first thing is, when you start an application, you're going to want to save it. So I'm going to hit my Save All button up here, and I'm going to browse, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to select the folder, and I'm going to hit Save. And the reason for this is that we're going to be compiling and debugging our application. After you've saved it, you're going to want to go to this green arrow, or you want to go to debug, then start debugging, or you want to hit F5, and your application will build, it will compile, and then debug. And debug means basically launching your application, so you can maximize it, stretch it, close it, And now I'm going to teach you how to make your form bigger. And there are two ways of doing this. Three ways actually. You can add a button, and then you can make it so when the user clicks it, the form size gets bigger. Or you can manually make it bigger, or you can enter how big you want it to be in the properties. And if you click your form, you can drag across, down, sideways for the height and width, X and Y, of your application. So if we make it this big, and then we debug, we're going to build, and then we're going to compile. Our application is that big. If we hit the X, or we go to that a weird square thing, our application will stop debugging, and we can continue to edit our application. However, if you don't want to drag it, or you want it an exact precise size, you can select it, and on your properties tab, which is down here, find your size, and then you can change it. I'm going to do 300 by 300. Oops, I forgot. Okay, over here is a Solution Explorer. Any files, resources, forms in your application get stored here. So if you ever lose them, and you click it, you get your designer. Down here is your properties window, and you can change different properties for any selected controls or your form. So if I click my form and I go over to the properties tab, I can change the text. Okay, if you see that text form 1, you're gonna think, oh, that's the text up here, I'm gonna change it. Well, let me tell you this, you don't want to change the name. The name is something different, and we'll be going into that later on when we're coding, but you're gonna want to change the text. If I change it to hello world, my text up here changes to hello world. And if I also select, I can change the icon, or I can hide the icon by changing it to false. Over here is the toolbox, and if you hover your mouse over it or you click it, you're gonna get the toolbox. And what the toolbox is it basically allows you to drag and use controls, pre-installed controls to your application. Down here, you won't see any of this over here, and the reason for that is that these controls I made custom. I made them from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but I made them custom, and I might do a tutorial on that later on, but at the moment that isn't our priority, making custom controls before we even are an intermediate at Visual Basic. So if you hit this little button up here, now if you hit I think it's dock, if I go to view, other windows, toolbox, hold on a second. Okay, if you hold that, okay, I'm gonna put it back where it was. If you select this little yellow thing, the window, and you move it, you can dock it to other areas so you feel comfortable. I'm used to it being over here, so I'm gonna dock it. So my application is here, and I can drag and drop. And I'm gonna click this little bar and resize it so it's that big. If we scroll up and we find our button, if you select it and then you drag how big you want it, or you can just drag it on, and once again you can resize it. I'm going to make it about this big, and I'm going to select my control, and like I said earlier, you can change the text of selected controls, not the name, the text. So I'm going to change that to click me, exclamation mark, and if I now double click my button, I should get this. And you want to ignore all this. All you're going to need to know is that you need to write in between the private sub for button 1 click, and button one click basically tells it that when you click, the code inside in between the end sub, which ends the private sub, and the beginning of the private sub will be handled and be taken in and performed. This public class form 1 tells us that anything inside here is basically like, you know, the code for the button form 1, and you can always import other resources to your application by the imports, which I'll be going through to in other tutorials. Sorry. So if we type MessagBox, I'll explain what it all is later. But if we type MessagBox.show, open parentheses, speech mark, hello world, exclamation mark, close speech mark, and end bracket. So this message box creates a message box. This .show shows it to the user, and you cannot do this without the .show. If you open up your parentheses, inside the speech marks is the text that's going to be displayed to the user. And to show you what this means so you can understand it better, I'm going to debug, and click my button. So if we click a button, we're going to get a message box, and I think you've all seen these before. And we're going to get hello world, a text which was inside our speech marks. And you're all probably wondering that you've seen a title up here. And now I'm going to show you how to teach. Now I'm going to teach you how to add a title. So if we close down our application, and we backspace on our end bracket, and we do a comma, then we do a space, and then we do 2 more speech marks at beginning and an end. And then inside those we can enter our title. And if you hover over that, you can see that it says here, show text as string, and a string is text, caption as string, displays a message box which specified text and caption. The text to display in the title bar of a message, and that's because the text inside here is the text on the menu title bar. So if we type in hello YouTube, or hello everyone at TurboQuale Development Network, exclamation mark, and then we end our bracket after the end speech mark. We're going to debug, and when we click, we're going to get a little message box, but we can't see the full title because our message box isn't that big. So anyway, if you want to do an icon, you have to do 2 things, and honestly I don't know why, but you have to manually specify the buttons for the message box. So if we do a comma, and then we write message box buttons dot OK, which means that we're gonna have, okay, if I type in yes, no, end bracket, and I debug, just to show you what I mean. When you hit that button, you're gonna get a yes and you're gonna get a no. And you click them, nothing's gonna happen. But what we're gonna want is a message box that will say OK. And then we want to do a comma, and then we're gonna want to do the icon. So message box icon dot, and we can choose the icon, and I'm gonna choose the information and end bracket. Now when we debug, we're gonna get an icon, we're gonna get a text, our title, our button, oh we already had that, and our icon. As you can see, I have an icon, I have my title, my text, and when you click it, if you put an icon in, most of the time you're gonna hear a little sound which is outputted to the user. My one was like da-da, because it's information, and we're gonna click OK and close that down. Thank you for watching. Just remember, all you really need is the message box.show and your text, and to make it look better, your title. You don't have to have an icon, but if you do an icon, you have to specify the buttons, the message box buttons. And yeah, next tutorial we will be doing something, I don't know what, I haven't thought about it, but it'll be interesting. And just remember, at the end of this whole series, you will be a professional. Well, you won't be a beginner, you'll be a Visual Basic, or not intermediate, but you'll be a bit more than beginner. You'll know all the basics, you'll know all the cool stuff, and with a little bit of practice, you'll be an intermediate in no time. And after being an intermediate, learning more and more and more, and feeding off my channel, you'll be a professional in no time. So just calm down, I don't know, go make a hot chocolate, and yeah, see you next time.